City Park the other day, and they had that. They just put AstroTurf down, or whatever.
Mr. Black.
I hate mulch.
Mr. Black.
Really.
Steve Black. I'm deducting every minute off your time.
Oh, you're down to 2.5 minutes.
Threaten if I have to. Would you please stand for the invocation and pledge of allegiance? Diane Wooten will give us our prayer this evening.
So, Father God, first of all, we want to thank you for this day that you blessed us with, Lord. We thank you so much for this occasion. Lord, we just thank you for the city of Vienna. We thank you for these councilmen and women, Lord Jesus, that you called and placed into their various positions. And Lord, we invite you, ask that you would give wisdom, Lord Jesus, as they have a conversation, Lord God, and discuss the issues of tonight. We ask your blessings upon everyone, Lord, that will be presenting tonight as well. We're so thankful, Lord God, for the freedom that we have in our country, Lord, in this state and in this city. And I pray that you would help us, Lord Jesus, to be cognizant of that, Lord Jesus, and just conduct this meeting in a way that brings glory to you. I ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Recorder Elam, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call to order this regular session of the Vienna City Council for April the 8th, 2021. First item on our agenda this evening is the public forum. We have two gentlemen that have signed up to speak, so Henry Sasson, you are first.
Can you hear me? Okay. Henry Sasson, 1307 Greenmont Hills Drive. Why am I here today? Well, there was a gentleman here a couple times who was talking about dogs when he was walking. And something happened in my development over the last couple days. And it's not the first time that it's happened, but it's not the same location. I'm a responsible dog owner. I've had dogs for a long, long, long time. But when I was a kid, I was walking home from track practice one day. A dog broke his chain and bit me. He was half Greyhound, half Doberman Pinscher. It ended my track season. It ended my track career. I had 25 stitches, 2 levels, still here, and a teeth mark behind, and the skin is still numb to the touch. This is with regards to a pit bull. Gentleman and his kid were playing in the yard with their dog. Their yard faces the backyard of another house. That pit bull came into that yard, bit the dog, bit the boy. That's wrong. Pit bulls are very aggressive, but they could be tamed too. I mean, I dated back in the years a girl whose father had a pit bull. I used to wrestle with the dog. Their jaws lock. They're like a vice. But they also turned on him. So as a city, there's an ordinance, dogs got to be on a leash. I have a backyard that's fenced in for my dog. There's owners that have the electric fence that they use for their dogs as well. If that happens to my kid, that individual is going to get in big trouble. And I'm going to come and complain to the city. That's why I'm speaking today. There needs to be something in place for these type of animals. That's all I got. Thank you.
Joshua Smith.
Ladies and gentlemen of the council, can you guys hear me okay? Okay. My name is Joshua Smith. I'm a lifelong Vienna resident. I live at the corner of 27th Street and 1st Avenue. I am a small business owner here in town. I'm a local author, and I'm also a local cosplayer for charity. And that's what brings me here today. Over the last 5 or 6 years, I've been blessed with the opportunity to go to and work at Large conventions and small festivals as far north as Sandusky, Ohio, and as far south as Boy Scout events in northern Kentucky. I've had opportunity to work at places like Mountain State Pop Expo, raise funds at the Mothman Festival in Point Pleasant. I regularly do events here around town whenever I can. And that's, when I say around town, it's because there's very few events to do here in Vienna, and that's why I'm here today. This last Christmas season, last Easter, and the Christmas before that, I had opportunity to work with the Parkersburg Christmas Parade, and I ran the most successful float they had in terms of cash and food donations to support their local food banks. And one thing that I see when I look around Vienna is we have a population that has a lot of kids, a lot of young adults, and a lot of older people. But what we don't have is an annual festival. We have the ice cream social, we have the Christmas parade, we have the big truck day. We also have events that happen down around the Grand Central Mall and events that happen all the way down in Parkersburg around Point Park or Market Street. But we don't have anything here. What I'd like to propose is a start of a multi-year plan that gives us something we can build on and scale upwards if we're successful with it. I don't know how many people here are familiar with the Festival event down in South Charleston. Festival, if you've never been, it is a wonderful experience. South Charleston lights the entire town up with art displays and music and crafts. They have a large parade, they have chili cook-offs and live bands. It's equivalent of homecoming for here, but it lasts for several days, and with all due respect to homecoming, it's a much wider, much larger thing than just Market Street. And it is, by and large, one of the most fun experiences I have every year when I get a chance to go down and participate in the parade. I would love to see Vienna do something similar. And I think we can actually start that this year in 2021. Now, when I said I want to scale this up, I mean, I want to start this year with a small fall parade. Weekend of October 2nd would be ideal, and I'll explain why. But start with a small fall parade this year. And then next year, when we are no longer under the restrictions of COVID-19 and we're not in fear of having all of our plans changed by the state or the CDC, which I fully respect, and they are well outside of my pay grade to make any judgments on. Fair planning, festival planning, event planning takes a lot of resources, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it can be hard to stop or change on a moment's notice without losing those investments. So for 2021, what I'd love to see is a parade at the usual Christmas parade route of 46th Street all the way down to 23rd Street here in Vienna. We can have local businesses, local crafters, local artists. If there is room, place small kiosks going up and down Grand Central along the parade route so that they can have a chance to generate some business, generate some interest for their businesses prior to the holiday rush when people are desperately trying to make money hand over fist as it is. We can have encourage local kids to dress up so they can feel like they're part of the parade, part of the event. Now, local kids won't necessarily be walking in the parade with any individual float, but there are ways to encourage them to do that and be like, you know, you bring your kids, have them at the parade, take pictures of them, and then we can have a panel of judges award small prizes to local community to get the involvement of the children, to get the involvement of the adults. And critically, like the Parkersburg Christmas Parade and the Easter Parade and some other events that go on in the area, they require donations of canned food items in order to stock local pantries. And I think that would be spectacular to do. My big food drive is with the Parkersburg Christmas Parade and the float that I run there, the C8 cosplay float. That's great, that's Christmas. That's a Christmas meal for somebody who is getting their pantry stocked up so they can go, they can have food for their family. But I haven't heard of any food pantry stock-up attempts for Thanksgiving. And I don't know about you guys, but I tend to eat a lot in Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving food is a big thing for me. And with food pantries across the nation suffering harder than they have at any time since the Great Recession, if not the Great Depression, due to the massive problems with the economy, I really feel like this would be a good way to get a start for something where we can entertain the community, try to boost community involvement and community morale, because let's be honest, none of us are really happy about the way the last year and a half has gone, and probably going to be kind of burned out by the time September rolls around as it is. And it would give Vienna a way to own up to the moniker of Pride of the Valley, where we say we have our own fall festival, our own community-based festival and event. Started with a parade this year to build community involvement, build community interest. Then in 2022, we can have a festival at the end of the parade at Jackson Park or Spencer's Landing, and scale up to some of the larger areas in the years to come if it's successful, if we have an option to do that. It would be something where small businesses would be able to chip in to support the community, have a place where small businesses can make sales to generate tax income for the community, bring in people from outside of the community, be it floats, be it other businesses, interests and involvement. And I really think that with the demographics we have in this town, it would go a long way to just getting community involvement, which we don't always have in this town. Ultimately, this is something where I do need to have some buy-in. I can't close down Grand Central on my own for an afternoon, as much as I would love to. I mean, $10 and some orange cones from Five Below, and you can do wonderful things with traffic, but I also don't want to get in trouble for it. So I thought I would come to City Council to see if there would be any interest in backing such a thing, or what sort of permits would be needed just to try. And for one last note, for why I'm specifying the first weekend of October. At the end of October, you end up with a lot of events like the Grand Central Mall Monster Mash. You end up with the Parkersburg Monster Mash. You end up with Halloween events all over town. At the middle of September, you've got the Mothman Festival down in Point Pleasant, which draws people everywhere. End of August, early September, you've got Homecoming. You have all these events that are happening either right before the end of October or right after the first week of October. Plus the weather's better. You're not as risk of getting rained or snowed on like you are in this town at the end of October, which will increase community involvement, will increase business involvement and child involvement, the whole 9 yards. And in all honesty, especially this year, as I've mentioned, I do a lot of stuff with the larger convention circuit that usually glosses over Vienna. But things like Colossal Con, things like Mountain State Pop Expo or West Virginia PopCon. And everybody right now is scrambling because everything got canceled last year. Everything got canceled last year. And vendors like myself, charity organizations like the ones that I've worked for, we took it in the teeth. And now all of these conventions that invest all the money that they invest year round to put on these events are all now rescheduling for September, August, and October. Not to mention November, just on the hope and on the assumption that things are going to open up. And I don't want to do anything where we're suddenly going to have a major overlap, because it's really a bummer when you want to do a small event in one city, and then there's a humongous event going on in the next city over. 20 minutes away, you've got a big festival, and here you've got, you know, a school gym with 20 vendors who paid $50 to show up, and it's like, oh, where am I going to go as a visitor? If we aim for that first weekend of October, we get the back-to-school crowd. We get kids a chance to come out and show off their Halloween costumes early, giving them an extra event. We get the chance for local businesses to boost up their pre-holiday sales. And if we make this a buy donation for food banks kind of situation, we boost up our local ability to help the various citizens in need that we're trying to entertain. That's my time. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to explain more or offer any more suggestions.
All right, Josh, thank you.
Thank you.
Let the record reflect that I've taken roll that all members of council are present. Having a quorum, we will proceed. The report of the minutes from the March 25th, 2021 meeting have been printed, posted, and circulated. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If there are no objections, then minutes will stand approved as posted. Councilman Leach, report of the treasurer, please.
Thank you, Mayor. We've got reconciliation of funds for City of Vienna dated April 2nd, 2021, as well as the short budget report of the City of Vienna attached in the Dropbox. For review, I've reviewed the reconciliation of funds and also reviewed the short budget. And based on that review, the accounts appear in order and the city is financially sound.
All right. This evening, we have no unfinished business, and we move on to new business. The first item on our agenda this evening was a discussion for the master plan. That has been postponed. We will put it back on at a later date. Mr. Roberts has got conflicts tonight, so he will not be here. So we will move right on to the other items that involve the park, and that would be Mr. Black with a discussion on the mud run and the swimming pool.
Start a little bit with the pool. I'm going to make it a little easier for you folks this evening. You're not going to hear a whole lot from me. We've talked about upgrades to the pool for the last 2 years. Agreed once the budget process was complete this year, I would come back to you folks, hoping for a plan to move forward, hoping for a decision by the time we open the pool, so we have something set in stone moving into the next year. I'd mentioned there was a number of cosmetic repairs, there was a number of maintenance issues. We are slowly finishing this. We should probably be done within the next week or so with the plumbing up at the pump house, or the pool house, the showers. And then we'll paint the pump house and the pool house, and that'll complete things for this particular year. However, right in front of me is a picture that we've brought before to show you a good rendition of a complete overhaul. And these pictures have been blown up, same thing. But at this time, I'd like to turn this over to Mr. Chris Augman with Pickering Associates. He has been the driving force helping us as we move forward with this. Chris?
Thank you, Steve.
So I need your computer on here then.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. As Steve mentioned, my name is Christopher Algman. I'm an architect with Pickering Associates. I live in Parkersburg, but I spend a good amount of time in Vienna because there's a lot to do in Vienna. I have my home
I'm
church.
having a difficult time hearing you. Are you comfortable removing your mask?
Yes, I can remove my mask.
Kim, I'm sorry, Kim, yeah, he's still close to you. Are you all right or not?
I'm fine. I think I'm fully vaccinated now.
There you go. All right.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I'll start again. My name is Christopher Algman. I'm an architect with Pickering Associates. I live in Parkersburg, but I spend a good amount of time in Vienna. My home church is in Vienna, and my kids have gone to school, and there's a lot to do in Vienna. So it's very close to home, and something to be very proud of. The Invocation this evening talked about it, and with all the things going on in Vienna, it's something for the council to be proud of, and I'm excited to be here to talk more about this opportunity before the council. Back in 2019, a couple years ago, Pickering Associates was asked by the Parks and Recs to take a look at the pool. It started with a small improvement to the top pool, but as we started to get into it, it grew into more, and we saw the opportunity to help improve something that is popular in Vienna, as well as an amenity that can draw people to the area. And now with the initiatives in the state to bring in out-of-state residents, Vienna, with all of its good qualities, is certainly high on people's lists to bring people into the state. Within the city, all the amenities on the previous slide, plus the pool is a big draw. Even with the pandemic last year, the pool remained open, and it's still it holds its own against the other pools in the area. So here is kind of comparing it against some of the other facilities in the area, which have a mix of different focuses. So it has its issues that we'll kind of get into in just a second, but it has a lot of good that we can build off of, and a lot of opportunity to help funding go a lot further. So like I mentioned, the pool last year was able to stay open. It's always been a very popular attraction with the residents. was open with restrictions. It extended its hours once schools were delayed in opening because of the pandemic. But then the season was cut short by pump failure and replacement, which we're all familiar with. So the pool is showing its age, but again, there's a lot of good opportunity that we can build off of here. So taking a quick look through the existing facility and the structures, we have the pool house here as well as the pump house. They're basic concrete block structures showing some cracking, some lintels are showing rusting. Steve mentioned painting and maintenance that's kept up with them, but again, the facility is showing its age. The pool deck and then pool amenities are in a similar state of condition. The top pool is not operating currently due to leaks in the piping. The security fencing around is a little bit more dated. There are some other concerns about the site as far as safety, the proximity to the road, the condition of some of the diving boards, the cracks in the pool deck. So again, the facility is showing its age, but again, it's very popular and there's a lot of good that we can build off of. With the interiors of the structures, again, simple block construction, but there are some safety concerns there as well. The pump house has a basement. It's a bi-level structure. The pumps are in the lower level. There's a pipe that runs across the stairs. So there's definitely safety issues in the pump house. And then the condition of the pool house is also of concern with its age. The concession stand here shows the interiors. It's functional, and again, the facility is popular and it serves its purpose, but there's a lot that we can take steps to improve. So I am excited to be here tonight to present the concept. Again, this is the vision of what we can start to do to the facility, to renovated, at least repaired as is, but there's an opportunity there to kind of add some amenities that aren't in the facility currently that, again, can keep it competitive with some of the other facilities in the area. So here we're showing the top pool with a zero depth entry and some water features for younger children. The other aspect of improving the facility is really to appeal and provide amenities for a variety of ages. Again, the top pool is out of commission, so that group is underserved right now. The diving boards are popular, the water slide is popular. There's water Zumba classes, there's other events too that we're taking into consideration and looking at some of these amenities. One other aspect of the proposed concept is, or challenge to the site, is that right now the pool is landlocked. So part of this concept is to look at a new pool house, but also expanding that into the parking lot and converting that to provide a little bit more area for the pool facilities and amenities. Another main feature of this to appeal to middle school age children and also add a new feature is to add a splash pad. We've located this one toward the road so that we can also improve the barrier and screening along 34th Street. So again, it's a concept design at this point. There's a lot of design work that would still need to go into this, but it can start to frame some of the features that we would include in the final design. By moving the pool house, we improve the amount of seating area to help support a new concession stand area. This would help support larger events, rentals at the pool, which it can do now. This can expand that capacity and provide a bigger space for people to gather in. So again, the excitement about this project is that there's a lot of good in that facility currently. Again, it's showing its age, but that's typical of all facilities. No matter what maintenance you do, at some point you have to make some improvements. So here there's working around the center pool, the main pool. You can apply your dollars to really go a lot further and build on that opportunity of a very popular amenity in Vienna and improve that to where it's going to be a fixture in the community for a long time. An alternate could be to build a new facility on a different location, but there you're going to look at a significantly greater investment and a lot more dollars going towards that. So with these improvements, again, this chart kind of is updated to reflect those, and it puts it as a well-rounded facility that will compete with other facilities in the area. So again, it has a lot good going for it. You can put a budget to it, you can put capital into it, and have an amenity that's going to be very appealing to the community for a long time. So I understand there's going to be questions and answers. Before we get to that, I wanted to turn it over to Linda Kern, where she can talk about some of the activities and additional opportunities that this improvement would make for the community. Linda.
Good evening. My name is Linda Kern. I'm the community event planner, and I am the senior center director. You know, Steve and I, we knew this day would come, that the pool built for 1963 was going to finally, we were going to have to do something. I do a lot of investigation before we even sat down and talked with Chris a number of times, because the whole idea is to hit every age group. And that's what I think is going to put us above all those pools you see up there. You know, our baby pool obviously has been a big issue for the last 4 years. The nice part of this is I want to explain how much better a zero entry youth toddler pool is. The baby pool as it used to function is actually a very bad idea, because babies, like toddlers, are different heights, different sizes. That baby pool was not the right height for some of the smaller children, so they could never use it anyhow. The other thing is that mushroom put out too much water and almost drowned the poor little kids. So they have done away with baby pools everywhere. They're gone. It's a safety issue. They are not used. So they created this zero entry youth toddler baby pool. What's cool about it is, let's say you have a very small baby that has a swim diaper on, but it wants to play with its brother or sister in that pool. It's very, very important, because the baby can get in there and maybe with the mother only be in this much water. The older toddler can go down. It goes up to 2.5 feet, by the way. It goes from 0 to 2.5 feet. There's little playthings with dripping water coming off of it. I want you to understand that is a really cool thing for little kids. The other thing is, we have nothing for preteens. The 8-year-old through the 13-year-old is what's going to be covered in our splash pad. Now, we have gone around to every pool and incorporated something for everybody. Even though we're landlocked on 3 sides, we have the ability to encompass now from babies to seniors. And speaking of seniors, I want you to know this year we are increasing our Aqua Zumba classes and more water aerobics. So there is a pool schedule out. All the pool rules are exactly the same as last year, dictated by the governor and the health departments. So we have to follow the rules to be safe. And I just want you to know, if you ever have any questions, it is available on our website. It is available on our City Vienna Facebook, and it's available always in our mailbox behind the senior center that I put hard copies in, because a lot of our people don't know how to use computers or don't like to even use them. So this way they have every way to find out what's going on in Vienna. And I put everything in there, so if you ever want to come up the alley and get something, it'd be awesome. But I just wanted to just tell you, one of the reasons this year I thought we should really, the classes are so well attended. You know, and another thing is too, you know, we've talked about, Henry's brought it up, I'd love to see us get back to swim team. We don't have the facility. I want babies to be able to get in there, adults, teenagers, preteens. This is what this pool's gonna do for us, and it's gonna put us over the top for all the other pools as far as accessibility to all age groups. That's the big thing to me. If we're gonna spend a lot of money, we need to include every age group. And one good thing, I will tell you this, 6 years ago, when I was here, I watched very carefully because all the lights inside our pool, of course, were shorted out and gone. The pool no longer lit up. And so when Norm Harris, the current Parks Director, the previous Parks Director, I watched those guys very carefully. They patched that pool very well before they put the liner in. There was a lot of cracks and a lot of work to do, and they spent months doing it. Well, we're very lucky that the integrity of the pool, like Chris was alluding to, if we had to pay for that on top of the splash pad, the zero entry, the new lockers, the bathrooms accessible from the outside for children and adults, if we had to do that, it would be much more. We're very lucky we have a very good pool with diving boards right now, because that is going to be excellent, and then we can finally build around that, and it will not cost as much. So thank you very much. I just wanted to tell you I'm very, very proud of this design, because I think it's the first one I've seen out of all the places we've visited in the Mid-Ohio Valley that will absolutely be good for many, many age groups for years to come.
I'm back and I'll be brief. If you ever have an opportunity to go to Athens, Ohio, a lot of what has gone into this concept is up there. We did talk to them, and Linda did mention about the zero entry pools. They have a baby pool and zero entry pool. And they said the baby pool is never used, and it's for the reason she explained. You know, there is a depth, whereas with the zero entry, it can be inches up to 2.5 feet. And as she had also mentioned, since 1963, we've had this pool relined a couple of times, most recently about 6 years ago. So the pool is good, but as Chris talked about, a lot of the other areas around it, we can't do it ourselves without damaging the integrity of the pool. The pump house itself, and if you saw in that one picture he has, I'm walking down the steps and there's a yellow line. That is a pipe that goes across the stairs. We have to physically, it's about a 650-pound pump, bring that thing upstairs and downstairs by chain, all my guys, go over that little pump. It's a little bit of a hassle. And as things are becoming a little more dilapidated, I just fear the fact that upstairs part is going to end up downstairs. So, and that's basically it. So does anybody have any questions? You know, well, Chris is here. He's the professional person.
I'm going to jump in. So I've spent a lot of time at the pool because we have pool age kids. And so I personally always loved the baby pool. And one of my questions about it, I do see the benefit of the zero entry, and I like that. One of my questions is about the security of that area, because one of the benefits I felt for me as a parent was I liked that we had a locked gate, because regardless, I mean, you may be sitting on the edge of the pool and still your kid is going to run over and try to get out, that kind of thing. So I like the idea of having a secured area, but it does seem like you've got at least from the deep end, you've got the long line of chairs and people around, but that would be a concern of mine, that maybe there's not enough security around that area, and even for the safety, you hope that people that have ill intentions aren't going to come there, but
Right.
it seems, I would like to have more barriers to get to the kids and for the kids to get out. So it's just as much as keeping people away from the kids as it is keeping the kids in. So
Sure.
that's one of the things I would want to consider. Also, let's see, on this one here, is that a cabana? Is that what this is? Like along the, coming down from,
I'm not sure which picture.
sorry, so that you've got the splash pad in the corner to the left of the splash pad. Is that like a cabana area? Yeah, that one.
That top right thing.
Yeah. It looks like garage doors.
Yeah, so.
Because that's not the pump house, right? The pump house is still on the road
Correct.
in the same
Um,
place.
That structure there is more for storage. Since we're moving the pool house away from the main pool, it has a storage area. So we can do, we can look at what is in there, but right now it's intended for storage, but it could be partially cabanas, it could be
Okay.
a couple different things. And I guess to talk about this is really a concept, so there's a lot of discussions left
Yeah.
to happen and a lot of input. So
Good.
again, things like the barriers and how secure we want those different areas are definitely all still on the table.
Okay.
This is kind of to give an idea of where we could go with things. I've been involved in a lot of concepts, and they rarely turn out the way that the initial concept is. So
Yeah.
I overheard earlier that there's not really a public forum tonight, but there will be opportunities for the public to provide their input on this as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, so what is the target time then for this stuff to take place? Remind me that, again, what's our timeline?
Actually, what I'm hoping for is when the pool opens in June, we have a plan. Because realistically, it could be cutting a little close if whatever the plan would be is put into motion once the pool's closed after Labor Day, or really it's mid-August when kids go back to school, the process could begin, where everything would have to be bid out, where the engineers would, handle all those things for us, and then move forward.
Okay, and so then hopefully have it ready to go for 2022 then?
Correct. And you can do it in phases, but I don't think that would be a really good thing, because number one, we need a new pump house. Okay, year one comes by, nobody cares. Number two, we need showers, restroom facilities. Okay, that's year number two. Still, nobody's really caring. Now we get into the real features that people want. It'd be easy to just do it all in one fell swoop. And, as Chris said, this is a concept. This isn't exactly what has to be. It's whatever you all decide. This is throwing a little bit of everything out there.
Okay. And just as recorder housekeeping, how do you spell your last name?
It's ALGMIN.
That is not how I spelled it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, real quick, I like this concept of you coming forward and talking to us about this stuff and having a plan, like you said, Steve, for a timeline. But I think this leads right into, I think, what this council is trying to do. We can become a recreational hub for a lot of things. I think if we do this pool, we need to do it right, because right across the hill, we're going to hopefully create a nice sports complex. When we get that hill moved or whatever. So it'd be definitely a destination where you have the pool. A lot of people come in for this, and if there's ball game weekend tournaments and things like that. So I think this would be a great feature for us to add, because it'd be the only one around. The other thing I want to talk about also is this with this slide, because I think about what Henry Sasson said. Every swim meet is held at the city park, whatever else, and I would like to see, if we're going to build a pool and build a nice one or make it bigger, whatever, make it so where they can host swim meets, because we don't have a Jackson pool swim team, which we haven't had for years. And I think about, if we're going to make a nice pool like this, let's make it to where meets can be held. And think about the location of certain things need to be considered, like say with the slide right in the middle of the lane. So I like to make that concern known on that piece. But I think I'm aboard with this stuff. Like say, cost wise, we have no idea. but just having this concept and it's recreational complex is going to be great for our city, I think.
As far as the cost goes, you do have an estimate for what you've drawn, right, Steve?
Yes.
Drum roll.
2 years ago, it was about $3 million. With things as it is right, everything included. With things as it is right now, it's probably more like $3.5 million.
We'd have to look at it, but yeah, the original estimate completed was around $3 million for everything.
$3
The
million.
original estimate was for $3 million. That was completed early of last year, so a lot's changed since then. We can definitely get into that, and that's gonna be one of the biggest things to start on, is to identify a budget and the goals of the project, to know what we need to get into with design.
Question, so I didn't grow up here, so I don't know if there's a history on this. As cars are coming down the hill, you'd mentioned more security and safety, for that corner because of the splash pad. Have we had accidents? Have people come into the fence there before? And, is it something that maybe we would want to put a reinforced corner there, almost like a solid structure just in that corner to prevent an accident?
Officer Jones?
Do you know?
But that's
Okay.
not to say it couldn't happen.
Right.
Things do happen.
Listen, it could, because there's a lot of cars that go center lane
Mhm.
there, but like I said, 13 years, I've never had an accident there.
I don't know of any, and it's going on 22 years. However, I can attest with the fact, 'cause we take care of the grounds all around it, those guardrails are scraped up pretty good. It's not from bicycles. Another issue is that particular area borders that Park Road Drive. You'd be surprised at some of the things you hear from some of the people that drive by. So this would make it a little more private as well.
We need to build a wall, don't we?
Melissa, I'd like to, just so, because I didn't think Steve remembered this, you brought up a very good point. Where their zero entry pool in Athens is exactly where ours is, and there is a fence. And at the end is where the outdoor bathrooms are. So you can take your child right into the bathroom. But yes, there is a fence. It's just not on that concept.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, nice, thank you.
It is fenced off from the rest, which
yeah.
was a very good point.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have kids that age anymore, but I spent a lot of time in that fence, and I was thankful for it.
Yep, you bet.
Any other questions from council?
I have a question. That drawing of the pool house with the concession stand on the roof, are those solar panels? Is that an intention?
That is shown as kind of a concept. We definitely look at ways that we can lower operational costs. Solar is an easy one. It's oriented correctly. There's enough clearing around it that we would definitely look at that during detailed design.
Oh, I mean, I love that element, and certainly, the pool's gonna be open, maybe 2 months out of the year, so the other 10 months of generating income back to the pool through selling the electricity back to the grid. That was really my only question. I love the design, and I know this has been talked about at council for I don't know, the last 3 years or something. And there was some pushback from people who thought, well, we have to have a baby pool exactly the way we've always had a baby pool. And it just makes total sense about this zero, gravity entrance. And I like the splash pad element. My concept of the pool probably exists in 1979 when I was at the pool, but a lot of things have changed. And I've done enough research to know that really people do want that splash pad element. So I think that this drawing has just hit everything, and really, it's impressive. I really appreciate the work everybody's done to put it out.
I have one more input real quick. I also like in the baby area, in the zero entry area, your kid isn't gonna get blasted. Like you were talking about the fountain being, it was decent pressure.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of water. But there are others here in our area, that maybe I've been to, that your small child is in danger of getting blasted by a fun feature. And so it wasn't good for a mix of ages. Like the splash pad should have been fun, but instead they got hurt or shot in the face, with water kind of thing. So if that's a mister or whatever it is there, or a dribbler or whatever, I like that just to get the kids used to the water and getting it on their face, and then let the heavy duty stuff be back there in the corner. So thank you, I like that.
There will be no squirt guns, things that shoot for that reason. You're absolutely
Good.
right.
Tom, you have a question? Comment?
Yeah, well, if you consider solar panels, I'm not a scientist, but we studied this in the legislature. 20 years from now, when you have to get rid of those solar panels, it's very, very expensive to get rid of them, as I understand it, because they're full of contaminants. And so when you consider the cost-benefit ratio, I think that's 20 years from now, but it will be very, very expensive to get rid of those. And there's only 2 or 3 places in that country where you can get rid of them, as I understand it.
Mr. Blackwell, he wraps up his equipment and stuff. Do you want to tell us about the mud run?
Yeah, real quick. I was waiting for this council meeting to really go into this, but it's been on our website. I think you all have stuff in your packets. This is really a pretty interesting concept. The YMCA, Chris Welshens, who is, what is she do?
Executive assistant,
Okay.
Jeff Olson.
And Jeff Olson, the director, had approached us about doing something like this and using the hillside, behind the trailer from the rec building over to Jackson Middle School. We walked it yesterday with them. There was only one dangerous spot that I found, but no, in all seriousness, they're anticipating about 300 people, all ages, coming to this thing. It somewhat, certain areas runs on some of the, as you call it, fairways for the disc golf, or parallels these fairways. There's different obstacles, climbing over logs, carrying logs. We'll have tires out there, some mud pits where these people are gonna, one of the pretty cool things was you dig a pit, they gotta climb over the dirt, get in the muddy water, climb out of the dirt. So, and people are just eating up with this. The main reason they came up with this was there's nothing like this in this area. With COVID, people are just really wanting to do something different. So, we've met with them, talked with them, and like I said, we actually walked the course yesterday, and what is it, 1.25 miles? So for adults, they would do the course twice, and for kids, it would be once. So it's pretty neat. May 22nd, it'll start over at the rec building. I believe they said they would have heats of 10, 20. And, there's going to be some people kind of bunched up a little bit, but I'll tell you, just walking that thing was, for me, a little more difficult. So I will not be participating. I'll have the timers, no. But are there any questions?
I think as a parks director, you should be in it.
I tried to walk it. Didn't work out.
It showed.
But anyway, and actually, if things go well, we'd like to possibly build on it, or they would, next year. So we'll see. When they tell me that there could be 300 people here, it's a pretty good thing. As Councilman Elam talks about the ball games or the tournaments, this is just going to bring more people to Vienna. So it's a good thing.
What time's it going to start, Steve?
I didn't bring the flyer. 9 or 10?
9:15, okay.
There you are.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
All right. So we move on. The third item on our agenda this evening is a bid recommendation. Councilman Leach, please.
It's a bid recommendation for the construction of the pickleball courts. Sealed bids for the construction of the permanent pickleball courts were opened Wednesday, March 10, 2020 at 10 a.m. with the following results. Vasco Sports Contractor, $129,837. All Quality LLC submitted a bid, but it was not complete. It was for fencing only. After careful review of the bid proposals, the recommendation for council approval from the Budget and Finance Committee for the construction of permanent pickleball courts is Vasco Sports Contractors for $129,837. Funding for this project, partial funding is budgeted for the city's general fund. Number appearing, with the remainder coming from a donation from the Spartan Foundation.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the bid from Vasco Sports Contractor in the amount of.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the sealed bid from Vasco Sports Contractor for $129,837, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Steve, these are the same contractor that is going to resurface the tennis courts and basketball court, right?
Yes, it is, and the plan, pending approval from you folks, so I can call them tomorrow and let them know all is good. It's gonna be a 3 to 4 week project to actually construct the courts. It'll be on the back parking lot up by the tennis facility. Then when they're ready to put the overlay, the actual court surfacing itself, we're gonna do, which you all have already approved, the tennis courts, the basketball courts, and the new pickleball courts.
Okay.
Steve, how long do these, when you resurface, what's the lifespan of when we're going to have to go back and redo it again? 5, 10, 20 years? 5 years, every 5 years?
You know, at this point, we had a problem with some of the trees in the area dropping whatever and creating that black mildewy stuff, so that's why we haven't cleaned. But we've taken some of the, Jack has worked with us to take some of those trees out, so 5 to 6 years would be.
Okay, thank you, Steve. The next item on our agenda is item number 4. It's a bid recommendation for the financing for the street sweeper. Councilman Leach.
Sealed bids for the financing of a mid-sized street sweeper were open on Friday, March 19th, 2021 at 10:15 a.m. with the following results. United Bank on a 4-year note, 1.74% interest, 5-year, 1.95%. Country Roads Leasing, 4-year, 2%, 5-year, 2.1%. West Banco, 4-year, 1.8%, 5-year, 2%. After careful review of the bid proposals, the recommendation for council approval from the Budget and Finance Committee for the financing of a mid-sized street sweeper is United Bank on a 4-year note for 1.74%. Funding for this project is budgeted in the city's general fund budget as noted in the memo.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the sealed bid from United Bank for 4 years at 1.74%.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the bid from United Bank. Is there any further discussion?
As long as you don't let Craig drive it, I'm all board.
Put Ben back in the barn.
All right, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the bid from United Bank at 4 years for 1.74%, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 6. Item number 5 is a bid recommendation for the financing of the fire department F-250 truck. Councilman Leach.
Sealed bids for the financing of a Ford F-250 truck for the fire department were open on Friday, March 19th, 2020 at 10:30 a.m. with the following results. United Bank, 3 years, 1.49%, 4-year, 1.74%. Country Roads Leasing, 3 years, 1.95%, 4 years, 2%. West Banco, 3-year, 2.95%, 4-year, 3.2%. After careful review of the bid proposals, the recommendation for council approval from the Budget and Finance Committee for the financing of the Ford F-250 truck for the fire department is United Bank, 3-year note at 1.49%. Funding for this project is budgeted in the city's general fund.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the United Bank financing for 3 years at 1.49%.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the bid from United Bank at 3 years for 1.49%. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 6 this evening is a bid recommendation for the purchase of networking equipment. Councilman Leach.
Sealed bids for networking equipment were open on March 19th, 2021 at 10 a.m. with the following results. SHI Corporation, $37,161.92. Alpha Technologies, $48,714.46. After careful review of the bid proposals, the recommendation for council approval from the Budget and Finance Committee for the purchase of networking equipment is SHI Corporation at $37,161.92. Funding for the project is budgeted and will be drawn from the general fund.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the low bid from SHI Corporation in the amount of $37,161.92.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the low bid from SHI Corporation. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of accepting the low bid from SHI Corporation in the amount of $37,161.92, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 7 is a general fund internal budget revision number 2. Councilman Leach, please.
Internal budget revision number 2 contains 3 items, one for the police department, 2 for the fire department. The first for the police department is a transfer of funds to cover additional costs for cleaning, fogging, and disinfecting due to COVID, $6,000. And the second item is for the fire department, transfer from travel due to lack of funds not spent for travel. Nobody was traveling. Moved to cover again the cost of additional cleaning due to the same. In the amount of $4,000, fire department transfer training education monies moved to cover unforeseen expenses for tires and vehicle maintenance for the fire department in the amount of $5,000. And again, all these are internal budget revisions transferring from one account to another.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of internal budget revision number 2.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve internal budget revision number 2. Is there any discussion?
I have a question. So we have been reimbursed for these costs through the CARES Act money that we received?
We are not now.
We're not now, so
We are not.
these are going forward.
Yes.
Who does this cleaning, and does it go out to bid? And I'll let you answer that first.
Tim Nolan has the contract now. I believe that when all of the COVID stuff started, that there were other bids solicited. But Mr. Nolan has done this as he does for most of the government agencies in the county. But to be honest with you, I don't know what those other companies were, but I do know that Mr. Nolan has done it for a long time.
Okay, and so he still does cleaning in the city building as well as, I'm assuming, the Parks Department buildings? Just spraying. Okay, so that was my question. Seems like he does a lot of cleaning, and I was just trying to get a scope of what that was. Thank you.
Any further discussion? And I'll call for the question. All those in favor of internal budget revision number 2, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 8 is a capital expenditure approval. Councilman Leach.
This capital expenditure approval is to order from the state bid a 2021 Ford Ranger 4x4 Super Crew truck for the street department, and the specifications for the truck are in the Dropbox.
This is a budgeted item, and it will be funded by the general fund. I'll entertain a motion for the approval from state bid for a mid-size pickup Ford Ranger in the amount of $27,445.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the the state bid of $27,445 for a Ford Ranger pickup truck. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the state bid Ford truck, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Last item on our agenda this evening is a resolution appointing Joyce Perkey to the position of Vienna City Court Judge. Mr. Skogstad, if you would, please.
Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Vienna, Joyce Perky, a qualified candidate and resident of the City of Vienna, is hereby appointed as Vienna City Court Judge, subject to all of the provisions and requirements of West Virginia Code, Chapter 8, 10, 2, B and C, and further subject to the provisions of Vienna Municipal Code 17301 and so forth, to serve at the pleasure of council.
I believe that you all received the resume that Mrs. Perky submitted. Russ, could you briefly give us a history of her judicial experience, please?
Magistrate Perky was a magistrate when I started practicing law in 2000, I guess technically 2005. She was a secretary in the prosecutor's office from 74 to 76. She was appointed as magistrate court clerk 76 to 92. She was a magistrate court assistant 93 and 94. She took a job at the city of Parkersburg, but let's just limit it to her judicial experience. So from 94 to 97, or I'm sorry, 93 to 94, she was a magistrate court assistant. 2000 to 2016, she was elected 4 times to serve as a Wood County magistrate, and she retired in 2016 as a magistrate, and I'm sure would have been elected again had she run.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution appointing Joyce Perky to the position of Vienna City Court Judge.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution appointing Joyce Perky to the position of Vienna City Court Judge. Is there any further discussion?
I don't know that she needs another reference, but I've appeared before Joyce for years and years. I knew her when she was an assistant, way back when I was a prosecutor in the mid-90s. And, I found her to be firm, fair, impartial, and does her job. So I'm very pleased she's willing to serve in this role.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Azinger.
Excuse me, I talked to a lawyer friend of mine, and he had nothing but good things to say about her. I
Okay, thank
think she'll do a good job.
Okay. Any further discussion? I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the resolution appointing Joyce Perky to the position of Vienna City Court Judge, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. With that concludes our agenda this evening. We'll move on to council comments, and I'd like to go first this evening. Henry, the remarks that you made, that incident is being investigated by the police department. So our fellows are on top of it. I know 2 of the officers went up there to gather the information, so we will figure out what is going on with that, okay? All right? So, council comments this evening.
I just want to follow up on that as well. Members of our community, I know when Jack was talking about dogs being unleashed, I've got a 14-year-old lab, and occasionally I'll forget to leave the gate open, and she'll wander around a little bit outside. And we go, but so those things can happen. But if anybody in the community sees a dog like that's unleashed, there's certain breeds that are dangerous. I've seen over the years myself, just the types of experience you had, Henry, and I feel for you and people that experience that. Pick up the phone, call. In a circumstance like that, I have no doubt that our police department will respond and deal with the situation, because in both the route and what's going on at that very moment. So absolutely, pick up the phone.
Yep.
Oh, one other thing. So Spencer's Park, the Zumba, they've started it up again. There's 15, I'm across the way, I hear them. I go out, there's 15, 20, 25 people. And the park is just packed. So I'm just thrilled to see it, in terms of just yay.
I had a question. The parade that Mr. Smith talked about earlier, is that something that then we would want Linda to begin coordinating, or what takes place next? What happens next?
No,
Do
it's
we
not that
come
simple.
together? Okay,
Yes, it's not.
okay.
Okay. We'll have to do something to discuss that because, maybe Mr. Smith has a different idea, but we've tried fall festivals, we've tried lots of things, And it's very difficult, so we're gonna have to listen to what his plan would be. But at any rate, I mean, it's not as simple as saying we'll have a parade on October 2nd.
Is there a team of people? Like, is it, like, does Linda have a group of people that she
Now,
works
this
with
would be
to-
on Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith would need to bring his idea forward, and then we would go from there.
Okay.
Okay, if Mr. Smith has a group that would like to sponsor, the last fall festival we tried was put on by the Kiwanis Club. And so they had a structure, they had members, they had lots of people, okay? So that's the process for that.
Okay. Okay.
So I have a question about that as well, and I appreciate Mr. Smith bringing, that idea here and his community mindedness that and the approach that he's taken, and I especially like the idea of having a food drive to go with that, and I think we lose sight, especially in Vienna, of people in need, so I really appreciate that, and that's a key element for me. But, so Mayor, are you saying that as the city, we could not have a parade on our own and then have other groups that want to plug in, whether it's during the parade or setting up things like he spoke about?
I'm not saying that at all, Kim. The city can do whatever it wants, okay? If there is a desire to have a parade on October the 2nd, then we certainly would work towards that goal. I just know that it takes a tremendous amount of back work to make all of these vendors and all of the coordinating and all the things that go on happen. So just by simply presenting an idea, if you've ever been downtown for the downtown throwdown or any of the other events, they have downtown PKB that puts all that stuff together. We don't have a group like that.
Right,
Okay?
so,
That's the problem. You have to have enough people to help support that.
well, the reason I said it the way I did, because I think that his intention is to scale up. And I know, for example, last fall, we had a Back the Blue parade, and that was awesome. There were so many people that were out along that parade route, and if we're just talking about having a parade in the fall, where the kids can dress up, we can have a parade, and people can throw candy out, it's something very simple, a fall parade, just to kind of test the concept. I was just wondering if we could do something like that, and I realize it's a lot of work to put it together, but I've seen it done before.
Well, no, and I suggest if you have a passion for that, you need to work with Mr. Smith and put together a proposal that we can go with, meet with the police chief and the fire chief for safety reasons and all the other things. The Back the Blue parade was basically cars. There weren't booths set up alongside the road. There weren't, those kind of conditions. But no, we're perfectly capable of doing that as long as there's someone to do all of the work that goes along with contacting all the vendors that he wants and all those things, okay?
Right. I mean,
Yeah, it just takes some legwork, that's all.
I mean, for me, in my mind, I'm thinking a parade to start out with, just, maybe put the vendors on the back burner for the next year or whenever, that can be worked out, but,
Bring a proposal, Kim.
okay,
I
thank
mean,
you.
seriously, that's all it takes.
Yeah, because another thought is, if you did that parade, you could land it at like Spencer's Park or even Spencer's Landing, where
Yeah,
you
land
don't
it
have
somewhere.
so you'd have to speak to the mayor about getting the floor, but, anyway, so I love festivals. I love, the idea of bringing
Yeah.
something like, and if somebody, again, keeps the ball moving,
Yes,
I'd
that's the whole
certainly
key.
entertain a call and-
You've got to find support people.
Right, yeah, I get that.
Okay,
We can do that.
all right,
So, yeah, thanks for coming and bringing that information.
all right. Tom?
You sent out this thing, from David McKinley evidently said that. I just wanted to give it an idea of what kind of things you're looking for.
The 4 items that have been submitted, that are ready to be submitted, are based on the comments that Congressman McKinley has put out. A police cruiser. The concrete ramp in front of the fire department is cracked and all that concrete needs replaced. The walking trail around Spencer's Landing. And finally, the Jackson Park swimming pool. They've asked us to submit a small, a medium, and a large project. The police cruiser would be approximately $40,000. The ramp at the fire station is about $50,000. The walking trail around the perimeter of Spencer's Landing is $180,000. And obviously, the swimming pool is somewhere between 2.6 and $3 million. And so we were gonna submit those 4 to fit 1, 2, 3, small, medium, and large. But you can submit whatever you want. That's why I asked if you had any suggestions of something that you want. You know, all they can do is tell us no.
That's right. That's how I got a date with my first wife.
There you go. There you go. Kim,
Yes, I'm glad you brought up the Spencer's Landing thing. So I'm gonna come back around to something we've discussed many times, is having the community have some input in that. I don't know, this happens to me at least twice a week where somebody reaches out about what they would like to see happen at Spencer's Landing. And I think, you know, before the COVID restrictions, a lot of that has been lifted. More people can meet and gather in a larger spot, so we can maybe talk about it at the community building, or we can even do it on site down at Spencer's Landing. I think we just keep, you know, we decided on the flap grant, and we're talking about the kayak launch, which I support that. Then the story walk happened. Now we're talking about a walkway around Spencer's Landing, which I'm not opposed to it at all, but I just think we just keep adding elements, and there's no discussion with the community, and that's what was promised. And I really feel like we need community buy-in for anything to be successful, and that starts with being open and transparent and having those conversations. So I would hope that we can put something on the schedule to do that.
if Mr. Roberts would have been here this evening, the park board, who is in charge of all of our parks and the development of them, is going to discuss that.
Okay, so now I'm even more confused because Spencer's Landing has never been put under the Parks Department, as far as I know.
And it won't be until it gets the letter of no further action.
Okay.
But Mr. Leach has done such a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I'll pat him on the back. The last set of results that we got back from water samples turned out fantastic. Okay? If everything goes the way, and I shouldn't even say this, if everything, yeah, I know, knock on wood, if everything goes well, Mr. Leach is going to have us out of the government oversight by July the 1st. Okay?
Okay, now we're really.
Yeah, now we're worried. I know, I shouldn't have said that. But at any rate, things are going remarkably well. All right? And so, you know, once all of the letter of no further action and all the other things are done, then it can become a park.
Okay, but we have a certificate of completion on that property now.
We do.
We did.
So, you know, like I said, we've already kind of moved the ball forward on some different plans.
No, we haven't.
Okay,
The
but you've
park-
applied for a
The park board will be
grant.
involved. They will handle all the public meetings. They will invite everybody to come in. We've done the survey. I mean, all the things we sent out to the community and all those results that are back. I mean, you all have seen them all. There's just varied items that people would like. So then it's gonna come down to money.
Right.
You know, what do you want to build? And so at that point, then the master plan will kick in and, you know, it'll go in that direction. The walkway around the Spencer's Landing was projected at the farthest points that it could be done in order that when the actual master plan comes out and we do some sort of a master plan or a walkway, whether it's a figure eight or it's whatever, that we've already budgeted the largest amount that it could possibly be. Not something where you go in with a 50-foot circle and realize you need 150 foot. This is the perimeter of the property. So it can be scaled back, okay?
Right, so
So-
I would appreciate the results of the survey. I know I got one sheet, and I think maybe there were 24, 28 items on it. And I realize people have sent in more. Perhaps that could be an Excel spreadsheet, and we can share that so we can look.
Did you not get it in your mayor's report today?
I'm looking for it. I don't.
Maybe I did.
It should be in there.
But once again, Mayor, I still think that's a one-way street. We see it, but without that community input, I think that's key and essential.
Yeah,
I
I have a
think it's
comment.
great.
I agree some with what, I'm sorry, Mayor. if you-
No, that's great. I mean, we want the communities. We want to build something that people will use.
Absolutely.
You know, I
Right,
mean,
and-
that's the whole deal.
Yeah, my comment on that is just like you said,
It's purple.
I want to break this down into two pieces. You know, the kayak launch and the opportunity with that flap grant, it was absolutely to get to those islands and it had to be, and plus, that plan right now, you know, and it's just like the pool. You know, you've got an idea, you've got a plan to move forward, and then it will come into focus.
Okay.
I think the same with the pool, and I think what our community, we've gotten the survey responses and so on. But I think, I agree with what you're saying, that, with the Parks Department, Spencer's Landing being brought into the park system, and even if you can't even if you can't do it all at once, having that master plan and saying, how do these elements all work together? And what could this look like, in Pickering and some of these companies, we're gonna need to rely on them to do just like they're doing with the pool, and say, cause, yeah, when you do it piece by piece, then you're all of a sudden, wow, we can't take advantage of this that we could have if we had a little more foresight. It's the same thing with what Mike's talking about, all of it, I agree. That
Right, I
plan
mean,
is
that's my main
involved.
concern.
Get that input, start putting some plans out for people to see ideas, kind of like, we've got this with the pools, Carlson did this, just to give you a sense of some idea. And I think that's great, but I do agree it has to be all working pieces.
Yeah, and there's gonna be some tough decisions
Yeah.
that have to be made because the boat launch, a soccer complex, all of the other things that people are really, pushing for, you can't do them all.
Sure.
So the master plan has to cover that and, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
Right now, until Mr. Leach gets us out of this, we're just kind of moving forward. All right?
Thank you.
Any other council comments this evening? And I have two quick announcements. There will be a special council meeting on April the 20th, 2021 at 8 a.m. to lay the levy. This is required by state code to be held on April the 20th. We need a quorum to pass this, so you need to confirm that you will be available. It only takes about 5 minutes. It's a one-item vote, and then you can go on to work or wherever you need to be, but we need to have a quorum that day. The second is the next regular council meeting is scheduled for Thursday, April the 22nd at 6 p.m. All right, with that, meeting adjourned.